Hello everyone. I would like to talk about today the passion of self-exploration. When you look at this world, there are many things that you can do. And one of them is to be more compassionate. And what that really means is that you begin to observe the nature of your judgment and not to bring some kind of polite act of being a good person, but actually understand the nature of right and wrong within your own experience. A sense of tranquility will harmonize presence beyond the sense of a dreamer. What that means is you begin to remember that within you, one point was connecting all the lines. Just like how we can simultaneously think of the concepts good and bad, simultaneously, in the subtler planes of man is present in another dimension of understanding. But because it is spaceless and timeless, the being must look within himself and be guided by his own intuitive flow into recognizing how the individual was always basking in collective intelligence. There are no magicians here. There's life here, and your interpretation of life. And as you begin to observe your own design, you will see that the reason ideology is given to you is because your awareness, what you see around you, is, how do I say it? You cannot hold a bird in your hands and not feel the bird inside your hands move, you know? And once you let it go, you begin to see you let go of a sense of intelligence that had to have a certain kind of life. And it's not about, like, how do I say it? It's all about the amount, the quality of your experience and how much you can stand on the peak of the mountain of sincerity, and with a transcendental trust dissolve into your limitless experience that belongs to an endless sky. We must learn from all aspects of life. And for a long time in my life, especially a couple years ago, I ignored my past because there was a lot of incapable experiences in my past. But later on, I began to realize my experience and having gone through those experiences of whatever kind of suffering it was for me, I gained images, forms, designs, information on how the nature of this reality works. And as I confronted it, it began to integrate with all those senses of my own identity I'd created in the future. And all these senses of being were just present. And in that presence, they were all gone. As if the ice had been cracked. The volcano had erupted. And the comet had finally kissed the earth. For some stats cannot pass man's stratosphere of existential observance. It is a freedom in the activation of yourself in a manner where you are not looking for truth as if it's something that's hiding and you haven't found it yet. You are observing the truth in what you don't have. And perhaps the sage, even though he was graceful in one view, in his subtler planes, there was a bright general, observant of all specifications. For once the command is made aware of, there was no form that could inform. Within all that you are aware of yourself to be, a subtle prayer that is found in your every heartbeat will begin to allow the world change, for you have allowed yourself to change. When we look at the concept of a self and when we look at the concept of an other, how could you know others without having a distinction of yourself? So we see that it seems that self implies other as much as other implies self. But because your direct experience is in self, you must realize that self is causing, in a sense, the effect of a sense of other. So self-inquiry is that sense of meditation where a very realized being named Ramana Maharshi said, meditation is your true nature. And what that really means is that you're not meditating to sit, to gain. You are presenting yourself in the novelty of your experience to see the infinity that is keeping the finite real. For once blissful eyes are found, every moment was a supreme gift of a new path. Remember yourself, and if you remember yourself in a way where it's unspeakable, you will see that you are allowing the self to find salvation. You are giving heaven to the idea that was trying to live on earth. And this simultaneous and multidimensional sense of knowing is selfless because it is omniscient. But its omniscience is not in an imaginary way where you think it's kind of like a Superman-like omniscient ability. You know, it's not you can go anywhere. It is a dissolution of the intelligence that forgot the body that never minded its mind. All that you're aware of is the intelligence of your existential moment of presence. I would like to speak to certain listeners. Certain occurrences will happen in regards to shifts in consciousness. But remember, your treasure that transcended any notion of immortality was in your ability to realize that it is you changing. That every sense of happening and occurrence is your existential responsibility of how your awareness is to the moment. For you are alive, you are your own source of profound being. What that means is you might not have written your poetry books yet, but your being is existential poetry, how your consciousness has developed into a form. How we can dance on stage and we have judges who give us scores. Above all, we all know that it is love that turned the world. For why else would man remain? For if man does not find within himself a great transcendental cause of immediately and innate, sincere and honest and compassionate action, we are forgetting where we are. Does humanity deserve where it is? Only when humanity is aware that it is alive. And your knowing has always been your road, blessed by an unknown world. Every tear was a star in the cosmos. You will be a being of a realization that you are all passage, regardless of opinion, whether it comes from your ego or other senses of ideas or any sense of relationship. You know. The empty eternal gaze within the self of selves. That knows before it knows. Much blessings and namaste. Much blessings and namaste. Much blessings and namaste.